Bella Grant's finger hovered over the send button for exactly 3 seconds before her traitorous thumb pressed down, and in that instant, she knew she had made a catastrophic mistake. The text message glowed on her phone screen like a beacon of humiliation. "I can't stop thinking about you." It was supposed to go to her best friend Rachel, part of their ongoing joke about Bella's ridiculous crush on the barista at their favorite coffee shop. Instead, the message had gone to Maxwell Edwards, the CEO of Edwards Global Industries, the massive manufacturing conglomerate where she worked as a mid-level project coordinator. "No, no, no," Bella whispered, her face draining of color as she sat frozen at her desk. Her hands trembled as she stared at the screen, watching in horror as the status changed from delivered to read. Maxwell Edwards had just read her accidental confession. Her stomach dropped through the floor. She had interacted with the CEO exactly 4 times in her 3 years at the company. Once during her initial orientation, when he gave a speech to new employees. Twice in passing in the hallway where he nodded politely. And once 2 weeks ago during a company-wide meeting where their eyes had met across the crowded conference room for a brief, electric moment that had left her inexplicably flustered. That moment had been nothing, she told herself repeatedly. Just a random glance between a powerful CEO and an ordinary employee. Except she had not been able to stop replaying it in her mind, the intensity of his dark eyes, the way his gaze had seemed to linger just a fraction too long before he looked away. Her phone buzzed. Bella nearly dropped it. The message from Maxwell Edwards read, "Can we talk, my office? Now, if possible." The blood rushed back to her face with a vengeance, turning her cheeks scarlet. This was it. She was going to be fired. Hauled into the CEO's office and terminated for inappropriate workplace behavior. She would have to explain to her parents why she lost her job, move back home in disgrace, and spend the rest of her life as a cautionary tale about the dangers of texting while distracted. Bella forced herself to stand on shaking legs. She smoothed down her navy blue dress, checked that her blonde hair was still in its professional bun, and walked toward the elevator like a prisoner approaching the gallows. Edwards Global Industries occupied the top 15 floors of a gleaming downtown skyscraper. The executive floor, where Maxwell Edwards had his corner office, was a place of hushed conversations and expensive art. Bella had never been up there except for that one company meeting. The elevator ride felt eternal. When the doors finally opened, a polished receptionist looked up with a knowing smile. "Miss Grant, Mr. Edwards is expecting you. Go right in." Bella's heels clicked against the marble floor as she approached the heavy wooden door. She knocked once, heard a deep voice say, "Come in," and pushed it open. Maxwell Edwards stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, his broad shoulders outlined against the city skyline. He was 32, she knew from company newsletters, though he carried himself with the confidence of someone much older. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his charcoal suit tailored to emphasize his athletic build. When he turned to face her, Bella felt her breath catch. He was handsome in person, devastatingly so. Strong jaw, piercing gray eyes, the kind of presence that commanded attention without effort. "Miss Grant," he said, and his voice was warm, not cold. "Please sit down." She perched on the edge of one of the leather chairs facing his massive desk, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Mr. Edwards, I am so incredibly sorry. That text was meant for my friend. It was completely inappropriate and unprofessional, and I take full responsibility." Maxwell leaned against his desk, crossing his arms. A small smile played at the corners of his mouth. "So you were not confessing your undying devotion to me?" Bella wanted to melt into the floor. "No, sir, I mean not that you are not. I just meant." She took a breath, forcing herself to meet his eyes. "It was about someone else, a misunderstanding with the contacts. I'm mortified." "I see." He was quiet for a moment, studying her with an intensity that made her skin tingle. "That's unfortunate," she blinked. "Sir." "Because I have been thinking about you too." The words hung in the air between them. Bella was certain she had misheard. "I'm sorry, what?" Maxwell pushed away from the desk and moved closer, though he maintained a respectful distance. 2 weeks ago at the quarterly meeting. You were sitting 3 rows back, taking notes. You were completely focused, engaged. When you looked up and our eyes met, I felt something I had not felt in years. He ran a hand through his hair, looking almost vulnerable. "I've been trying to figure out a way to talk to you ever since. A way that wouldn't be inappropriate or make you uncomfortable." Bella's mind reeled. "You've been thinking about me, constantly." The word came out rough, honest. "I made inquiries, discreet ones. Found out you work in project coordination, that you're brilliant at your job, that you're kind to everyone. I've been watching you, Bella. In the cafeteria, in meetings, trying to work up the courage to find a legitimate reason to speak with you." She stood up slowly, her legs unsteady. "This is real. You're not joking." "I don't joke about things like this." He took a step closer. "When I got your text, my heart nearly stopped. I thought maybe impossibly you felt the same thing I did." "I did," Bella whispered. The truth tumbled out before she could stop it. "I have not been able to stop thinking about you since that meeting. I told myself it was ridiculous, that you wouldn't notice someone like me." "Someone like you?" Maxwell's voice was incredulous. "Bella, you're extraordinary. Do you have any idea how rare it is to find someone genuine in my world? Someone who isn't impressed by the money or the title? I did not even know if you remembered my name until 10 minutes ago." He laughed, a real laugh that transformed his serious face. "I've known your name for 2 weeks. I've read every report you've filed, watched every presentation you've given. I sound like a stalker." "You sound like someone who does his research," Bella said, feeling a smile break through her nervousness. "Though I should point out that there's a significant power imbalance here. You're my boss's boss's boss." "You're absolutely right." Maxwell's expression grew serious. "Which is why we need to handle this carefully. I won't put your career at risk. If you want to walk out of this office right now and pretend this conversation never happened, I'll respect that completely." Bella looked at him, really looked at him. Behind the CEO exterior was a man who seemed as uncertain and hopeful as she felt. "And if I don't want to walk away, then I'd like to take you to dinner. Away from the office, away from anyone who works here, just 2 people getting to know each other." He paused. "I own the company, Bella. I can implement whatever policies necessary to ensure there's no conflict of interest. You'd never report to me directly anyway, but I can make sure your position is protected." "This is insane," Bella said, but she was smiling. "I accidentally text my boss's boss's boss that I can't stop thinking about him, and instead of firing me, he asks me to dinner. Is that a yes?" She should say no. She should be cautious and professional and think about the implications. Instead, she said, "Yes, dinner sounds nice." Maxwell's face lit up with genuine pleasure. "Tonight, I know it's short notice, but I've been waiting 2 weeks already. I don't think I can wait much longer." "Tonight," Bella agreed, feeling reckless and alive. They exchanged personal phone numbers, and Maxwell promised to pick her up at 7. As Bella left his office, her head spinning, she caught the receptionist giving her a curious look. She ignored it, riding the elevator back down to her floor in a daze. Rachel called during her lunch break. "Did you see my response? The barista is definitely into you. You should ask him out." "I accidentally sent that text to someone else," Bella said, still processing everything. "Oh no, who?" "Maxwell Edwards." Rachel screamed so loudly that Bella had to pull the phone away from her ear. "The CEO, oh my God, Bella, are you fired?" "No, we're going to dinner tonight." Silence. "Then, I need you to repeat that sentence because I think I'm having a stroke." Bella told her everything, and by the end, Rachel was alternating between excitement and concern. "Just be careful, okay? He's a billionaire CEO. They're not exactly known for their emotional availability." "I know," Bella said. "But Rachel, the way he looked at me, it felt real." "Then go, have dinner, see what happens. Just promise me you'll keep your guard up until you know for sure." Bella promised, but as she returned to work that afternoon, she found it impossible to concentrate. She kept checking the clock, watching the minutes crawl by until 5 o'clock when she could reasonably leave without raising suspicions. At home, she tore through her closet with the desperation of someone who had just realized their wardrobe was entirely inadequate. She finally settled on a simple black dress that was elegant without being too formal, paired with heels that made her legs look endless. Maxwell arrived exactly at 7, driving himself in a sleek black car that probably cost more than her annual salary. When Bella opened her apartment door, his eyes widened appreciatively. "You look stunning," he said simply. "You're not so bad yourself," Bella replied. He had changed from his suit into dark slacks and a button-down shirt that somehow made him look even more attractive. He took her to a small Italian restaurant tucked away in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. It was charming and intimate, nothing like the ostentatious displays of wealth she had half expected. "I wanted somewhere we could actually talk," Maxwell explained as they were seated at a corner table, "without photographers or people looking for favors. Does that happen often? More than you'd think." He studied the menu. "Being a CEO of a major company means everyone wants something. A donation, an investment, a connection. It gets exhausting." They ordered food and wine, and as the evening progressed, Bella found herself relaxing. Maxwell was easy to talk to, surprisingly funny and genuinely interested in her life. He asked about her family, her college experience, her dreams for the future. "I want to run my own project management firm someday," Bella admitted. "Help smaller companies optimize their operations. There's something satisfying about taking chaos and turning it into order." "You'd be incredible at that," Maxwell said. "I've seen your work. You have a gift for seeing patterns and solutions others miss." "What about you?" Bella asked. "Did you always want to run Edwards Global?" His expression grew thoughtful. "My father built the company from nothing. He was brilliant but ruthless. When he died 5 years ago, everyone expected me to fail. I was 27, barely out of business school, but I had watched him sacrifice everything for success. His health, his relationships, his happiness. I decided I wanted to do things differently." "How so?" "Better employee benefits, work-life balance initiatives, ethical manufacturing practices. Profit matters, but so do people. It's cost me some investors, but the company is stronger for it." He reached across the table, his hand covering hers. "My father never understood that you could be successful and still have a life outside the office. I don't want to make that mistake." The touch of his hand sent electricity through her. "Is that why you're single? Too focused on proving something?" "Partly," Maxwell admitted. "But also because I hadn't met anyone who made me want to make time, until 2 weeks ago." They talked through dinner and dessert, losing track of time. Maxwell told her about growing up with the pressure of legacy and expectation. Bella shared stories about her middle-class upbringing, her parents who were both teachers, her younger brother who was studying engineering. "They sound wonderful," Maxwell said wistfully. "Family dinners, inside jokes. My childhood was boarding schools and business dinners." "That sounds lonely." It was. His thumb traced circles on the back of her hand. "But I turned out okay." "Better than okay," Bella said softly. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Maxwell paid the bill and they walked to his car slowly, neither wanting the evening to end. "I should get you home," Maxwell said reluctantly when they reached her apartment building. "I suppose you should." Bella turned to face him, her back against the car. "Thank you for tonight, it was perfect. Can I see you again, tomorrow?" she laughed. That eager. "I've wasted 2 weeks already, I don't want to waste another day." His hand came up to cup her cheek, his touch gentle. "Is that too much?" "No," Bella breathed. "Tomorrow sounds perfect." Maxwell leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met in a kiss that was soft and sweet and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "Tomorrow," Maxwell repeated, his forehead resting against hers. "Tomorrow," Bella agreed. She watched him drive away before floating up to her apartment, her lips still tingling. "Rachel called immediately. Tell me everything and don't leave anything out." Bella obliged, talking until nearly midnight. She fell asleep with a smile on her face, her phone on the pillow beside her showing a good-night text from Maxwell. Already counting the hours until I see you again. The next several weeks passed in a blur of stolen moments and carefully hidden romance. They kept their relationship private, aware of the complications that could arise. Maxwell would pick her up blocks away from her apartment. They had dinner at out-of-the-way restaurants or cooked together at his penthouse. Bella learned that Maxwell loved classic films and terrible puns. That he could cook surprisingly well, having learned during lonely nights in business school. That he ran every morning without fail and had a weakness for chocolate chip cookies. Maxwell discovered that Bella sang in the shower, had read every classic novel ever written, and could beat him at chess 3 times out of 5. That she was fiercely loyal to her friends and called her parents every Sunday without fail. They were falling in love, and it was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. The first real challenge came 6 weeks into their relationship. Bella was leading a presentation on a new efficiency initiative, and Maxwell attended as he did with all major project pitches. She had to stand in front of him and 20 other executives, pretending they were nothing more than CEO and employee. Their eyes met once during her presentation, and the heat in his gaze nearly made her lose her train of thought. She recovered, delivering her pitch flawlessly, but her hands were shaking when she gathered her materials. "Excellent work, Miss Grant," Maxwell said formally as the meeting concluded. Then, so quietly only she could hear as he passed, "Dinner at my place tonight. I need to properly congratulate you." That evening, she found his penthouse filled with flowers and candles. Maxwell greeted her with a kiss that made her forget her own name. "I hated sitting there pretending I didn't know how your lips taste," he murmured against her mouth. "Hated that I couldn't tell everyone in that room that you're mine. Yours." Bella pulled back slightly, her heart racing. "If you want to be." His eyes searched hers. "I know it's fast, but Bella, I'm in love with you, completely, impossibly in love with you." Joy exploded in her chest. "I love you too. I was terrified to say it first." Maxwell laughed, relief evident in his expression. He picked her up and spun her around. "Say it again." "I love you, Maxwell Edwards. I will never get tired of hearing that." He set her down gently. "Which is why I think it's time we made this public." Bella tensed. "Are you sure? People will talk." "Let them. I'm tired of hiding how I feel about you. I want to take you to company events, have lunch with you in the cafeteria, hold your hand without worrying who might see." He cupped her face in his hands. "I want everyone to know that I'm the luckiest man alive because somehow, impossibly, Bella Grant loves me back. The office will gossip. The office always gossips, but I'll make it clear that our relationship doesn't affect your position. You earned every promotion on your own merit and you'll continue to do so." Bella thought about it, weighing the risks and rewards. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, let's do it." They went public the following week, and just as predicted, the office erupted with speculation. But Maxwell was true to his word, ensuring that Bella's professional achievements were never questioned. He even had HR implement stricter anti-favoritism policies to protect both of them. Some people were supportive, others jealous, but Bella found she didn't care. She had Maxwell, and that was all that mattered. 3 months after that first accidental text, Maxwell invited her to meet his mother. Margaret Edwards was a formidable woman who lived in an estate outside the city, surrounded by gardens and memories. "She's going to interrogate you," Maxwell warned as they drove up the long driveway. "My mother has very high standards. Should I be nervous, terrified," he said cheerfully, "but she'll love you, how could she not?" Margaret Edwards was indeed intimidating, with sharp eyes and an aristocratic bearing. But over lunch, Bella discovered the older woman was also funny and kind, with a deep love for her son. "Maxwell tells me you work in project coordination," Margaret said, sipping her tea. "That you're brilliant at what you do." "I enjoy my work," Bella replied carefully, "and that he's in love with you." Bella glanced at Maxwell, who was watching them both with amusement. "I'm in love with him too. Margaret smiled then, a real smile that softened her entire face. Good. He needs someone who sees him, not just the Edwards name and fortune. Someone genuine. My father would have hated her, Maxwell said bluntly, which is how I know she's perfect. Your father was a brilliant businessman and a terrible human being, Margaret said matter-of-factly. I loved him, but I had no illusions about his flaws. You're better than he ever was, Maxwell, don't forget that. The afternoon passed pleasantly, and when they left, Margaret hugged Bella warmly. Take care of my boy, she whispered. He pretends to be tough, but he has a gentle heart. I will, Bella promised. In the car, Maxwell reached for her hand. That went well. Your mother is wonderful. She liked you, I could tell. He brought her hand to his lips. What would you say to meeting the rest of the family? I have 2 cousins and an aunt who are dying to meet the woman who's captured my attention. Bella laughed. Is this going to become a regular thing? I hope so, because I plan on keeping you around for a very long time. The certainty in his voice made her heart soar. She was falling deeper every day, and she had no desire to stop. That winter, Maxwell took her skiing in Colorado. They spent lazy mornings in bed, afternoons on the slopes, and evenings by the fire. It was during one of those evenings, with snow falling outside and flames crackling in the hearth, that Maxwell grew serious. I have something to tell you, he said, setting down his wine glass. Something important. Bella's stomach tightened. Okay. I'm planning to step back from Edwards Global. Not completely, but I want to transition to more of a chairman role, let someone else handle the daily operations. He took her hands in his. I've spent my entire life proving I could run the company. But I don't want to end up like my father, sacrificing everything for success. I want a life, Bella, with you. Tears pricked her eyes. Are you sure? The company is your legacy. You're my future, Maxwell said simply. The company will be fine, better than fine. But I only get one life, and I want to spend it with you, building something real, something that matters. I love you so much, Bella whispered. Enough to marry me? The question hung in the air. Bella stared at him, her heart pounding. What? Maxwell slid off the couch, going down on one knee. From his pocket, he produced a velvet box. I know it's only been a few months. I know people will say we're rushing. But Bella, I knew 2 weeks after meeting you that I wanted forever. Every day since has only made me more certain. He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring that caught the firelight. Marry me. Be my wife, my partner, my everything. I promise to love you, support your dreams, and make you laugh every single day for the rest of our lives. Bella was crying now, happy tears streaming down her face. Yes, yes, of course, yes. Maxwell's hands shook as he slid the ring onto her finger. Then he was kissing her, and she was kissing him back, and neither could stop smiling long enough to do it properly. They called their families that night. Bella's parents were surprised but supportive, having met Maxwell twice and been thoroughly charmed. Margaret Edwards cried happy tears and immediately began planning an engagement party. Rachel screamed so loudly that Maxwell could hear her through the phone. You're marrying the CEO. This is the best accidental text in the history of the universe. The engagement party was held at the Edwards estate a month later, an elegant affair with 200 guests. Bella wore a midnight blue gown that made Maxwell forget how to speak properly when he first saw her. You're staring, she whispered as they danced. I'm allowed. You're going to be my wife. He pulled her closer. Have I mentioned how much I love saying that? Only about 1,000 times today. Get used to it. They married that spring in a ceremony that perfectly blended their 2 worlds. The venue was an elegant garden, intimate despite the guest list of family, friends, and key business associates. Bella's father walked her down the aisle, tears in his eyes as he placed her hand in Maxwell's. Take care of her, he said quietly. With my life, Maxwell promised. The ceremony was simple but beautiful. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Maxwell kissed her with such tenderness that half the guests were in tears. At the reception, they danced until her feet hurt and laughed until her cheeks ached. Maxwell gave a toast that was both funny and heartfelt. thanking Bella for being patient with a reformed workaholic who didn't know what he was missing until an accidental text message changed his life. To mistakes that turn into miracles, he said, raising his glass. And to the woman who made me believe in both. Their honeymoon was 2 weeks in Greece, wandering through ancient ruins and swimming in crystal-clear waters. They talked about the future, about dreams and plans. "I want kids," Maxwell said one evening as they watched the sunset from their villa. "2 or 3, I want to be the father mine never was." "I want that too," Bella agreed, her head on his shoulder. "And I'm going to start my own firm like we talked about, small at first but growing." "I'll be your first investor," Maxwell offered. "No special treatment just because you're my husband," he laughed. "Wouldn't dream of it, though I reserve the right to brag about my brilliant wife at every opportunity." They returned home to a new chapter of their life together. True to his word, Maxwell stepped back from the daily operations of Edwards Global, though he remained chairman of the board. The transition was smooth, and he found he didn't miss the endless meetings and crisis management. Instead, he had time. Time to have breakfast with his wife every morning, to take walks in the park, to simply exist without the constant pressure of performance. Bella launched her consulting firm 8 months after the wedding. Grant Solutions started small with just her and 2 employees, but word spread quickly about her talent for organizational efficiency. Within a year, they had 15 clients and a growing reputation. Maxwell watched her thrive with pride. She was brilliant and driven, building something entirely her own. He helped when she asked, offering advice and connections, but mostly he just supported her, celebrated her victories, and held her through the occasional setback. 2 years into their marriage, Bella discovered she was pregnant. They had been trying for months, and when the test showed positive, she cried with joy. Maxwell's reaction was even more emotional, his hands shaking as he held the little plastic stick. "We're having a baby," he kept repeating, wonder in his voice. "We're going to be parents." "Are you ready for this?" Bella asked, her hand on his cheek. "I've never been more ready for anything in my life." The pregnancy was smooth, and that fall they welcomed a daughter. They named her Emma Rose, and she had Maxwell's gray eyes and Bella's blonde hair. Maxwell cried when he held her for the first time, this tiny perfect human they had created together. "Hello, sweetheart," he whispered. "I'm your daddy, and I promise to love you and protect you always." Bella watched them, her heart so full she thought it might burst. This man who had once been a stranger, a powerful CEO she had admired from afar, was now her husband and the father of her child. Life had a funny way of working out. Emma was 6 months old when Maxwell surprised Bella with a renovated building downtown. "For your company," he explained as he showed her around the bright, modern space. "You've outgrown the current office, and I thought you might like something with room to expand. Maxwell, this is too much. It's an investment in your future, in our future. Grant Solutions is going to be huge, and you'll need the space." He handed her the keys. "Consider it a very late wedding present." She threw her arms around his neck. "Have I told you lately that I love you?" Not in the last hour. I was starting to worry. They settled into their new rhythm as a family. Maxwell proved to be an incredible father, patient and playful. He could soothe Emma's tears with a silly song, change diapers without complaint, and pace the floors during the occasional sleepless night without a word of frustration. "You're a natural," Bella told him one morning, watching him feed their daughter breakfast while simultaneously answering emails on his tablet. "I had a good example of what not to do," Maxwell replied. "Plus, I have the best partner, we make a good team." They did. They balanced each other perfectly, supporting and challenging in equal measure. When Grant Solutions landed its biggest client yet, Maxwell organized a surprise celebration with all her employees. When Edwards Global faced a potential scandal, Bella helped him navigate the crisis with her strategic mind and calm demeanor. 3 years after Emma's birth, they welcomed a son. Benjamin James was all dark hair and serious expressions, a miniature version of his father. Emma adored him instantly, insisting on helping with everything from baths to bedtime stories. Their house was full of noise and laughter, toys scattered across expensive rugs, crayon drawings displayed like fine art. It was chaotic and messy and absolutely perfect. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Maxwell took Bella back to the Italian restaurant where they had their first date. The same corner table, the same candles in wine bottles. 5 years, Bella marveled, her hand in his across the table. It feels like yesterday and forever ago at the same time. Best 5 years of my life, Maxwell said. Though I have to say the accidental text message was the real winner, we should send a thank you note to whoever designed that contact interface. Bella laughed. Can you imagine? Dear phone company, thank you for your confusing layout that led to me texting my CEO instead of my best friend. It resulted in a marriage and 2 children. Don't forget a successful business and a reformed workaholic. That too. Maxwell grew serious, his thumb tracing patterns on her palm. I mean it though. That text changed my life. I was so focused on the company, on proving myself, that I had forgotten what it felt like to want something more. Then you walked into my office all flustered and apologetic, and I knew this was the more I had been missing. I was terrified you were going to fire me. I was terrified you were going to say no to dinner. He raised his wine glass. To accidental texts and intentional forevers. To love stories that start with mistakes and end in happily ever after, Bella added, clinking her glass against his. They talked late into the evening, reminiscing and dreaming about the future. More children, maybe, travel certainly, growing old together definitely. What do you think would have happened if I had not sent that text? Bella wondered as they drove home. Would we ever have gotten together? I like to think yes, Maxwell said. I was working up the courage to engineer a meeting. Maybe I would have requested you on a special project or found an excuse to need your expertise on something. Very CEO of you. I would have found a way, he insisted. The universe wanted us together. The text just sped up the inevitable. Bella smiled, watching the city lights blur past. Maybe he was right. Maybe they would have found each other eventually. But she was grateful for the accidental message that had started it all, for the twist of fate that had brought her Maxwell. At home, they paid the babysitter and checked on their sleeping children. Emma was sprawled across her bed, one arm around her stuffed elephant. Benjamin slept with his tiny fists curled near his face, peaceful and perfect. We made them, Bella whispered in awe. It still amazed her sometimes, the reality of their family. We made a lot of good things, Maxwell said, his arms circling her waist from behind. Beautiful children, successful careers, a life full of love, not bad for an accidental text message. Not bad at all. They stood there in the doorway, watching their children sleep, and Bella felt overwhelming gratitude. For mistakes that led to miracles, for courage and second chances, for a man who had been thinking about her even before she had dared to think about him. Life was unpredictable and messy and sometimes terrifying. But it was also beautiful and full of possibility. All because one day, distracted and flustered, she had sent a message to the wrong person who turned out to be exactly the right person all along. I love you, she said softly, turning in Maxwell's arms to face him. I love you too, he replied, kissing her forehead. Forever and always, and they did. Through years of growth and challenge, through the expansion of Grant Solutions into a national firm and the continued success of Edwards Global, through raising their children and eventually welcoming grandchildren. Through every anniversary and milestone, every ordinary Tuesday and extraordinary celebration, the love that started with an accidental text message endured, deepened, and flourished. It became the foundation of a family, the inspiration for a life well lived, and proof that sometimes the best things happen when plans go wrong and hearts dare to hope. Bella and Maxwell Edwards built a legacy not of business success or accumulated wealth, but of love given and received, of promises kept and dreams realized together. And it all began with 7 simple words sent to the wrong person who had been thinking the exact same thing. Sometimes mistakes are really miracles in disguise. Sometimes the universe knows what we need before we do. And sometimes love is just waiting for a reason to begin, whether that reason arrives intentionally or by accident. For Bella and Maxwell, that accidental text was the beginning of everything. A simple message that said, "I can't stop thinking about you," to someone who had been thinking about her all along. It was the start of their story, their family, their forever. And what a beautiful forever it turned out to be.